Director, it always seems that the leaks from our institutions and government agencies benefit Democrats. I mean, we just had as Mr. Bishop pointed out, we just have the fact that the IRS leaked the personal tax returns of U.S. citizens. Just happened to be at the time that Democrats are trying to raise taxes on the American people. And then, of course, there's what happened, someone from the FBI or DOJ leaking information about the fact that Mr. DeJoy, at least it's been reported that Mr. DeJoy is under investigation for, if you can believe what's written in the press, for alleged campaign finance violations that took place between 2004, I think, and 2015. So even if he did it, it seems to me the statute of limitations has run. So I want to ask about that in particular. Is there an internal investigation at the Justice Department, or more specifically at the FBI? I know you have an inspections division. This is the division, my understanding, that looked into Andy McCabe's issue when he leaked information that he shouldn't have leaked. Is there some kind of internal investigation going on?
Well, as you by now have probably come to expect from me, Congressman, of course I can't confirm any specific investigations, but what I can tell you...
I'm not talking about an investigation that the FBI is, I'm talking about an internal investigation to actions that someone in your division may have leaked information to the press regarding the Postmaster General.
Likewise, I wouldn't confirm a specific investigation. We have our inspection division has a unit dedicated to internal investigations, and we put some of our best people in it because of how important it is. We also have, that I stood up in the last administration, in our counterintelligence division, a dedicated leak unit to pursue criminal investigations where that is appropriate. In some cases, they work with each other, you know, because there's an administrative side and a criminal side. But really, that's all I can say. I can't really confirm specific investigations.
No, I understand. You've given that answer to us. And look, I get that. You've given that answer to us 1,000 times a day and 1,000 times and the other times you testified. I understand that. But when we're talking about the Postmaster General of the United States, we're talking about the tax returns of the American citizens. Again, all conveniently timed, it seems to me. I mean, last summer, many Democrats called for the Postmaster General to step down. The left had all kinds of protesters at his house last summer in the whole debate about mail-in voting. And then we see this story sort of out of nowhere that supposedly he's under investigation. I just was curious if you'd tell us if it's internal. Does the FBI give critical race theory training to your agents and employees?
Not to my knowledge. We certainly provide different kinds of diversity training, just like almost any organization these days, but certainly I've never heard of any kind of critical race theory training.
But is that a yes or a no? Is there critical race theory training going on at the FBI, yes or no?
And my answer is not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of, okay. How about this, the issue of this, the Washington Post reported back in April that FBI had sent, quote, geofence search warrants to Google and got information about January 6th phone numbers of folks here on Capitol Hill. And that include members and staff and others who were authorized to be in the Capitol on that date. How did you distinguish? It's our understanding, according to the news reports, there's an exclusion list of folks who were, supposed to be in the Capitol that day. How is that all being handled? How did you determine who's on the exclusion list, who isn't? How did you get that information, and what are you doing with that information now, particularly the phone numbers and identifying phones of members of Congress and staff who are supposed to be on Capitol Hill?
So I think you anticipated probably the most important part in your question, which is, again, and I want to be careful not to talk about any specific investigation, but the geolocation data that we're talking about is, again, it doesn't identify a person, it identifies a device. And so one of the first things we needed to do, because on January 6th itself, our focus was on trying to secure you all and the facility, so we weren't arresting people here on site. So after the fact, we needed to figure out who was here by looking at the list of device numbers. And then with that, we needed to be able to get from, and I think we got it from the Capitol Police, but I'm not sure about that, a list of who was, as you said, supposed to be here so that we could exclude those people and focus on the numbers of
we know that
who were
some
not
people,
supposed to be here.
No,
and then using those numbers, then start to pursue logical investigative leads of the people who were not supposed to be here.
No, I appreciate that, and thank you. But some people who were supposed to be here, we know were subsequently called by the FBI, and they were staff on Capitol Hill. That's because you didn't know, you were finding out, I mean, what was going on there?
The gentlelady's time has expired. The witness may answer the question.
Well, again, I don't want to speak to any specific investigation, but our reasons for going to interview witnesses about things are a lot more than geolocation data. So it may have been that we saw a video footage of somebody and we think this person saw something in this place, or some witness told us, go talk to this person because they know what happened over here. So there's a whole host of reasons why we would have gone to interview somebody that might have nothing to do with geolocation data. So I can't really speak to any specific person who was.
Is the exclusion list
Gentlelady's time
only
has, the gentlelady's time has expired.